Hi, this is Tony Ruggiero. Thanks for listening to The Tour Coach. These are the players, coaches, experts, stories, and insights from my work on the PGA Tour at my retreats or my downtown teaching center in Mobile, Alabama. My goal is to shed light and share insights from the people who I've gotten to know and meet working on the PGA Tour and teaching through my career. And I hope this helps all of us play, coach, and teach better golf. If you like what you hear, please give us a good review and take a look at our new Dew Sweepers YouTube channel or the Dew Sweeper on Instagram, where I've taken some time to share videos of help from my teachings, travels, and journeys.
On this edition of Tour Coach, it's going to be a fun one for me because working with him when he was a tour player for a little stint was very fun for me, and we didn't get as much done as we'd like, but we always had a good time.
Certainly did.
Former PGA Tour player, now back home in Alabama, teaching golf, playing some golf, having some fun. Will Wilcox, what's up, buddy?
Not a ton. Just played some golf with a young man that's about to turn pro, and the lessons are starting to really flow, and I've really been able to help some kids, and man, it just doesn't get much better than helping a young player. I've got kids from age 18 to 17, and then I have some adults as well, but the excitement you get from helping a youngster, create a love for the game is really fulfilling.
Yeah, I agree. And we've known each other. I mean, we haven't always worked together, but we've known each other from being in Alabama a long time. Been around a lot of the same people, and we've always gotten along, had a bunch of respect. And one of my passions has always been teaching and developing young players. I think that's like one of the coolest and the best things you can do. And I think in a lot of ways, it's way more rewarding and gives you a better feeling than chasing you guys out on the tour. And I don't mean that disrespectful to you when you were a tour player. You know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're teaching one of my favorite kids on planet Earth, Ben Carr. I drove 8 hours to deliver him a cake on his 21st birthday. And you got some great kids in your stable.
He's a special one. He's special. He's a good, and better than that, Ben is one of those people you just enjoy spending time with and enjoy helping.
So chill. He's so relaxed, and he just, he hasn't had the easiest ride, and he's had some tragedy in his life that not everybody's had to face, and he's tough as nails, and I think he's going to do great things. And man, does he respect you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think though that people that have tragedy and have tough times coming up appreciate the help. And also appreciate the work and effort it takes to get there more so than the people that it's always easy and there's never really any bumps in the road.
Yeah, he's the adversity he's faced has definitely toughened his skin. He's very, very focused, and every time I talk to him, I'm always like, how's it going with the Dew Sweeper? His work's still going forward, and he's just like, the Dew Sweeper is a genius. So yeah, he loves you to death. So you're very lucky to have such a good young man.
Well, I appreciate that. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about first the playing career. For me, there's been a couple people I've taught. You were one of them where, I came up teaching under a bunch of great teachers, but, you were way more unconventional in what you did. And it was really good for me because it was a big point. I know I didn't help you as much as I wanted.
Well, I was playing like crap. It had nothing to do with you.
But I go into everything positive, I'm going to change the world, But it was good because you really pushed me to think outside one of the things I liked is you pushed me to think outside my box. And hey, outside of conventional ways, I would teach somebody to hit it and do things. It made me think more, which I like. I mean, there's not lots of players do that. And so I enjoyed it. And I've never been afraid to, when you've posted something, say, hey, man, that looks pretty good. I think you're onto something, Talk a little bit about your playing career and what you found out about yourself, and then ultimately, why you transitioned into, you got your own podcast now, and you're teaching golf, and to me, the most important thing is just from watching you seem like you're pretty damn happy.
Yeah. My playing career was cool. It was a good 12.5-year, 13-year run. I had a lot of fight in me at the start, and I was an angry little feller. I definitely was. I had a lot of fire, and I think that fire it made me a good player, but it made me tough to be around, and I was able to quell some of that, just internal frustration and self-talk and all that, and And, anyways, I got off to a good start, had a great backer that really freed me up, Tim Jackson out of Pell City, Alabama. I'm actually, I live on the lake in a camper now, and I'm looking across the lake at his beautiful lot. I mean, he's got the best lot in Pell City. And on Logan Martin Lake, they had to build a land bridge to this little island, and he lives on it. So anyways, Tim backed me 10 years and paid 100% of my expenses the first 5 years, and not many young players get that opportunity. So I had 5 years of just free golf, and it was just, that's just
hard to do that. Hard to find.
Hard to do that. Hard to get somebody that is willing to invest that much money in you and trust you and trust you to pay them back. And because it was just a handshake. We wrote things down in a manila envelope with a ballpoint pen. And,
Before you go too far, don't you think I think that there's a lot of bad backers out there too, guys that get in bad situations.
Oh, man.
You were so lucky because you had somebody that genuinely cared about you, right, and wanted you to succeed. But, man, there's a lot of people, like I've been around some of them out there, and you hear some of the deals these young folks get in, and it's like, dude, even if you're successful, it's a shitty deal.
Some of the South American guys are getting absolutely railroaded, because they're from small towns in Argentina and things like that. I don't know that necessarily the details, but I know a few guys that had some good, pretty solid careers that are left kind of with nothing at the end. And I'm not going to mention any names, but people that are brought up from nothing, and you got a wealthy backer. And a lot of my friends have signed with a certain individual, and they want a large chunk of their earnings, and they give them a stipend every month, and it's not enough to cover the expenses. So if you're trying to play the Corn Ferry Tour, and you're only getting X amount,
deal. I know I don't like that. I don't like that deal or that deal.
I think you know the deal I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I don't like that. I don't like that they basically could buy sponsors exemptions and stuff for people. And certainly, I think it was a bad deal.
Yeah, and it leaves these guys in a really tough spot. And, at a glance, it's pretty good, but, because it allows them to travel. But at the same time, they're, if you play good, and if you don't get your card at the end of the year, you got nothing. So, anyhow, yes, there are a lot of backers out there that are in it for the money. Tim took me to golf tournaments when I was 9, 10 years old. So Tim was in it for the good, and he did me good. I did him good. I had a lot of people tell me, one year I had to write him a $130,000 check, and because he got 9% that year without putting any money in, because that was the 6th or 7th year of the deal, and the last 5 years of our 10-year deal involved no money in, 9% of the total earnings. So I had a lot of people saying, bro, like, he doesn't have a leg to stand on. You don't have to pay him. And I said, no, I love this man. He loves me. I would never do anything wrong to him. He's never done me wrong. I'm doing it. I'm giving it down. And so Tim, to this day, he'll invite me over for Sunday dinner, and I'm over at his house almost every weekend, and we sit out back and have a beer and look at the lake and talk about the good times, and times are still good, and I'm just happy to have gotten the experiences that I did and met the people that I got to meet. And next week I'm caddying for Russell Knox on the PGA Tour.
I saw that.
I get a trip to Bermuda. It's crazy.
Well, you've had great experiences. You've always done it your way too, which I mean that in a good way, because I think there aren't very many people that like to do their way. Was it hard to decide you didn't want to play anymore? I hate to ask that question because I know it's a touchy question, but I always wonder, you're still relatively young,
Yeah, I'm 35. Just my putting got dicey. Although I do have these new irons, I'm loving this new sub 70 company. It's crazy. I can't. What I was pigeonholed into hitting 125 gram extra stiff irons, and now I'm hitting 120 gram stiff irons, and I've got a little more cavity back, and I'm starting to hit the ball really good again. And it's just if I can get the putting straightened out, who knows? And I think, since I won on the Corn Ferry Tour, I might be able to sneak into an event or two next year. So I don't know if it's over. I don't think it is, but I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. I'm happy I got to see my grandpa the other day. I get to see him a lot. I get to see my mom a lot. There's been a lot of long hugs with mom. So it's just great to be around my family. I run a junior tour with my dad. And it's just cool. It's just cool to be around the folks. It's cool to be around old friends, and they all respect me for what I did, and that's what's cool. Nobody can take away from me what I accomplished, and I don't regret anything other than, although I am kind of I think I'm a good person for someone like Ben to lean on, and I can tell him what not to do. And because I did a lot of things that were not the correct way to do things. And once you get there, you got to keep working. And I got there and thought I was a John Daly type, and I didn't have that I didn't quite have that amount of talent. So yeah. Anyways, I'm proud of myself for what I pulled off, but I wish I wouldn't have partied so hard after I did well. basically what it is.
We all grow up, though, right?
Yeah.
It takes people to. So if you look back on it, like you said, hey, I could go back and change a couple things, whether it's, how I played, how I worked at it, obviously the partying, I get that, but, or things I tried to do with my golf swing, like, would you tinker less with things? I mean, what are, like, golf swing wise and golf playing wise thoughts? There's some things now, if you could say I could go back 6 years to to Will at 26, 7, 8, what would you do different?
That's a tough one. I thought that when I had a good finish, the only way I could really soak it up is if I had 8 beers. It was really weird. Like, and that number just sticks out. I don't know why. I mean, I love to, for lack of a better word, I love to get nice and saucy on Sunday after a good finish, just because I couldn't believe what I was accomplishing, and it was so much beyond what I ever thought was going to happen. So I would, number 1, drink less. 2, stay in the gym more. I would have played way more tournaments when I was playing well. I would have ridden the wave longer. I was a big hey, you just had 2 top 10s in a row. Let's go on a vacation, whereas you need to, when you're playing well, don't go on a vacation. Wait till the end of the year to go on vacation. Keep going. And I was always, my agent, Drew Carr, who's a great dude.
Great dude.
Yeah, great dude. Fidelity Sports Group. Check him out. He's a great boutique agency out of Orlando. And so shout out to Drew and David Mormon. But, they always were like, Will, you're playing awesome. Keep going. And I was like, I really want to go to the Caribbean and rent a house and drink a bunch of Dom. So that's what I would do. And, and then my friend Andrew Loop would always be like, bro, come to Reno and play this tournament. You're an idiot. You're hitting it awesome. Like, keep going. And I'd be like, all right, fine. And I'd go over there and I'd finish 8th. Then on Sunday, we'd be having dinner and he'd be like, aren't you glad that you came? I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm really glad I came. But, but anyways, you got to ride the wave. If you're playing good, don't stop. Keep going.
No, I love it. And I think that, what about when you're playing bad? I see lots of guys they almost do the opposite of what you just said. Like, they get playing good, they take off. They play bad, it's like they keep trying to play every week. It's almost like you could do the opposite. Get away from it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had a lot of great runs. I think I had a stretch where I made 19 straight cuts, and then I'd have stretches where I'd make 3 cuts in 19. So, I think sometimes just stepping back and taking a week off and just, reassessing and maybe like you're getting older, maybe change the flex of the shaft or something like that. And on the tour, the thing is you got a lot of reps, and, I hate to say that they're vultures, but they really come at you with all this new stuff, and they want to revolutionize the tinkering game and all this. So yeah, you just got to stick to what got you there and not let these reps try to put all this new stuff in your bag or these swing training things. And yeah, it's if you're playing bad, you need to just kind of step back and be like, all right, what got me here? What did I do to achieve this? So that's really what it is. And you need to figure out what your maximum amount of events in a row is. That's pretty key.
What do you think now, looking back on it for you? What would be the maximum amount you could play and be effective and get something out of it? 4 with stretching it, I would say, 4. 4 would be, because on tour, they ask you, you got sponsor value program, you got Pro-Am, you got
just you got interviews, you got a lot of stuff going on, and it's just it's like high school out there too. I mean, there's a lot of talking going on, and it's just a very weird environment, and and even now it's even more different. Like when I first turned pro, it was still like the Guy Boros days. It was still the Scott Dunlap, and you're having a big time. Now it's all focused. These kids are so polished, they're so ready to go. But the main reason I left is because my putting left me. And I just my dad, I was so fortunate to have a dad that is just very savvy with creating businesses, and we've got this awesome 501c3 junior tour. I mean, we ran the Bud Burns and Selma this year. We had 80 kids play, and we just do a lot of really good things for kids. So I had something nice to fall back on, and I'm just I'm sitting outside my camper right now. I had a good time with my buddy Nate Fernandez this morning, who's about to turn pro, and we played about 15 holes early this morning, and I'm just really enjoying teaching and hanging out.
What made you decide to want to start teaching? Was it just being around the kids? How have you enjoyed? Because teaching's different than playing, obviously, right? And And I think it's harder too than a lot of people think on the front end. Like when you just think, I'm gonna start teaching people golf. They didn't every person you walk up to just all of a sudden starts shooting 70.
No, it's tough. I'm definitely with each week and each month that passes, I'm figuring more things out. You want to figure out, am I a what would you call it? A method teacher where you're going to try to teach everybody the same type of thought, or are you a guy that's going to take what they got and try to get them just on plane on the way down? I think I'm kind of just a setup guy. But your original question was what made me want to go with teaching. It was people asking me, hey, would you help my son? Would you take a look at his swing? And to me, it's pretty easy to see when somebody's setup is messed up. And so, I definitely have a good eye for teaching people why their leg action isn't doing what it's supposed to do. And when somebody's setup is screwed up, it's pretty easy to be like, all right, you got to get your internal hip rotation better, and this is how you do that. So, I make sure their setup is right. I try to get them on a decent plane on the way back, and I try to get their club as close to on their hands on the way down. And I'm a big turn and burn guy, so, just make sure you get out of the way as much as you can. And, you keep the butt on the wall, make sure you maintain your posture, and, a lot of people, hump the ball.
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of that, you touched on setup a bunch, and I know from our work together, and we've talked a bunch, I'm such a big believer in if a person's not balanced at setup and not in a place that they can make a good move from, they don't have much of a chance, or they're always in recovery from there on, but so many young people or parents of young people that come and they think you're going to tell them some revolutionary thing that's happening out of the top or something, and it's like you fix their setup and so much of that other things goes away and cleans up without having to think or do it.
Oh yeah, no, it's awesome how the club kind of falls into the right position, and their arms will kind of get in the hitting zone easier when they're set up correctly, and the takeaway is so much better. And on chipping and sliding wedges is something that a lot of people don't do. They kind of flip that wedge and it rolls up the face. I really like to teach that right wrist, kind of keep that kind of cupped right wrist and almost underhand toss it to keep that flight down and keep that nip on it. You take advantage of the grooves. Don't let the grooves take advantage of you, So it's been a learning curve, but I'm getting a lot closer, and I'm getting a lot of good feedback. So when you see somebody that's really good, that's why I'm impressed by guys like you. Like everybody that you teach hits it so well, that's got to be a real brain buster. Like when somebody's hitting it good, it's just like, damn, I don't even know what to say. You look awesome.
Well, I think one of the best compliments you can get as a teacher is when somebody tells you really haven't screwed anybody up.
100%, yeah.
Right? Because you were out there a long time, and I'm not naming names or anything, but there's people that like to jump in on somebody that's already good and guys hitting it good, and they try to change something so you could say you could change it. I think sometimes the hard part about teaching is telling a guy like, hey man, like you just need to move the ball back, or you just need to move your hips here, or whatever. Like sometimes you guys are already really damn good. You're not that far from being great players,
Yeah, very minuscule. Yeah. When you get to the level that you're at, it's definitely a situation where you gotta fix, keep it small. So, but yeah, it's definitely you not screwing somebody up is so key. And yeah, I mean, you taught one of the best ball strikers of all time for many years in Lucas Glover.
Yeah.
And I just, man, that had to be, kind of nerve wracking. But y'all were together for a long time, and you got him back on track. I mean, while y'all were working together, that dude really started playing some good golf.
Well, he's a great guy. It was awesome to work for. And, I mean, like all things out there, you hate for things to end, but like you go into it and you do a good job. And yeah, I mean, he hit it beautiful, right? And he could have stretches where it's like, you're just like, you don't know how a guy could hit it any better, right? But yeah, man, such a good ball striker and a good guy. And more importantly, too, he was a good influence, I felt like, on all my other younger guys. When we worked, you guys played practice round together, maybe in Phoenix or something, where we spent a little time. And, I think that's good. And so I'm always trying to learn from you guys. And I love the stuff you talked about, flighting wedges and chipping and pitching, because, to me, there's way more to that. And that comes more from the player side than it does from any guy like me that studies a golf swing,
Yep, absolutely. No, I feel you. And I mean, what you've done with Ben's swing is you've really turned him into, I mean, his scoring average is 68.4 this season. So, I mean, I know he's very talented, but I mean, there's definitely, I see the changes after y'all work, and he implements those changes and he sticks to them, and it just works. So yeah, I mean, you're the last thing you're doing is screwing that kid up.
There's a guy that's a good example of a guy with a really pretty strong grip, or a really strong grip, right?
Yeah.
Lots of people would have jumped in and just changed the face. But like, I was like, that was a tough one, Willie, because like you're looking at it and you're like, I mean, this kid's already really damn good. Like, if I change that, what if the kid's ends up not being as good? And I was like, well, let's just go as long as we can down the road with this. And he was okay not curbing it left doing that.
Yeah, He just hit and missed the cuts. I mean, well, it's only about a 1 yard fade, but yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? His bad shot's not that bad anymore, And I think the biggest challenge now, and in a way I know you'll help him, is just to continue to help him understand little shots around the greens and stuff, right? Because that'll be important, especially with a stronger grip, to learn to do.
He's keeping it real nice now. He's definitely getting a better understanding of the nipped pinch.
Right.
So, I mean, shoot, he won that tournament at Columbus by 10, and I hated that he didn't get through to the AM, and then last year the COVID screwed him up, or he was exempt into the AM. He was at a larger school, man. He'd be getting that top 5 at the Corn Ferry Tour easy,
no question. That kid's a stud. I think he is one of the best players coming out of college in a year or so, hands down. I think he's going to be ready to play.
Yeah, and I think he's going to use all his years too. Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not so sure you should, but I mean, it's his own journey, but yeah.
He loves college.
Mm-hmm.
All right, before we go, this is my fun question. Give me your favorite. What was, if you think back and remember, what was your best post-tournament party when you had a big week?
Oh, that's easy. That's easy. So my mom was with me, and in 2016, it was the Phoenix Open. I finished 6th. It was Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh boy!
And so we went to Jonathan Kay's house. Met Spencer Levine there. I had a young lady with me, and I shot the round of the day on Sunday. We went over there, got the tournament truck with us. We go to Jonathan Kay's house. There's about 30 people there. We watched the tournament. I drank God knows how many beers. And I made $230,000 that week. And we watched the Super Bowl, and I didn't have a team. I didn't have a dog in the fight at all, but man, I acted like I did. And we just had the best time. It was me, Spencer Levine, Jonathan Kay, and it was just, 3 savages. And we had so much fun, and Mom was there, so she had a couple glasses of wine, and we just had a big time, and yeah, it was what a Super Bowl Sunday in Phoenix after you finished sixth in that golf tournament, and
that's a good time.
And then we went to so this is kind of a 3-week period. So then we go to Pebble. I chip in on the 72nd hole. I was left. It was on number 9 at Pebble Sunday. I'm left of the green on that downslope to a middle left pin, which is you're screwed. I'll hole it to finish like 33rd. We hop on a private jet. We fly down to 34-minute flight to Santa Monica. We land. Our 4 cars are sitting there. Me, Steve Marino, Willie Mack, and somebody else. And maybe there's just 3. So 3 brand new Mercedes C-classes are sitting there on the runway. The Santa Monica airport is shut down. So the NetJet takes off, gets out of there. We proceed to race these things up and down this runway for about an hour.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and we couldn't find the exit. Like, so we looked for the exit, and we were just checking the hotel, but we couldn't find the exit. So we thought, well, we got 3 brand new Mercedes here. Let's race these things. I mean, there's no planes coming in. We got our own runway here. Let's just rip it. And so that probably beats the Super Bowl Sunday. But anyways, yeah, I was just it was crazy. It was just one of those things where you're like, we got our own runway in Los Angeles to rip brand new Benzes. This is nuts. Let's do it.
You can't turn down that opportunity.
Yeah, we didn't. And luckily nobody was hurt, and we got to our hotels, and everything was fine. Nothing happened other than we had a good time.
Willie, awesome stuff. Great catching up with you. You're always fun to catch up with. You always reach out. Best of luck with all the teaching. I hope, for one, as a fan, I hope the putting gets a little better and you get to get back out there and do some, because you're super talented, but you're absolutely an all-world good dude. So I hope things keep going better, and maybe one of the trips up here in Alabama we'll run into each other. But keep kicking ass, man. You're a good dude.
All right, Tone. I appreciate you so much for having me on.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Tour Coach. I want to take a minute and thank Cordy Walker and Golf Science Lab, as well as my sponsors Srixon, Buick, Bushnell, and Vineyard Vines for helping make all of this possible and helping me share my insights with you. If you like what you've heard, why don't you check out more on the Dew Sweepers channel on YouTube, as well as the Dew Sweeper on Instagram, or go to dewsweepersgolf.com to find out more about my teaching, my travels, and where you can find out more about me.